We're live, Mr. Wade. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett, and I'm one of the panelists on this particular platform and show. And I'll be also your chairman for tonight, being Friday. Uh, we should be dealing with a lot of legal case laws and court matters as well as constitutional issues, both for constitution of the country of Belize as well as the constitution of the United Democratic Party, which is currently one of the major scarfuffle going on in the country. Um, I do not wish to belabor much longer because we're starting a bit late, as most people who listen to us regularly at the live program would recognize that we try to start at 7:30, and that is far beyond 7:30. We're almost at 8:30, and we promised we'd try and launch at 8:20, and so we did. I don't want to take up much more time. I want to get into the subject matter, but we have our preliminaries that we go through as part of our format, and that is that we also have Mr. Wade currently with us, another one of our senior panelists who deals with the Wednesday night, who chairs the Wednesday night programs, and we're looking forward, hopefully, to have our next senior panelist and as well senior engineer, Mr. Gregory Brackett, who chairs the Monday night program. And in the interim, we'll just go ahead and do what we need to do. Mr. Wade will introduce himself as soon as I finish saying the prayer. So let me just go ahead and say the prayer and let's move on. Divine loving Father, we thank you for this privilege that thou hast granted us. First of all, the privilege of life, and then the opportunity to still be alive today among our family members, friends, and loved ones. I want to thank you, especially loving Father, for having brought us here safely, despite the travails and the occurrence of the evening, which thou knowest, and which I'm humbly giving thee thanks for tonight, as well as asking you to please be merciful upon our family members, friends, and loved ones. Thou knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. Please continue to bless our country of Belize, its people, and its leadership, as well as the United States of America, its people and leadership, and the rest of humanity, loving Father, especially those people who are in mortal danger, losing their lives and limbs because of wars, man-made wars, that is slaughtering people right, left, and center, sometimes for no justifiable reason, other than the fact that they can do it with impunity at that. We pray, the loving Father, that thou would also bless those people in Gaza, and those people in Lebanon, those people in Iraq, in Ukraine, and all over the world where there are wars going on, especially in Sudan and the Republic, the Democratic Republic of Central Africa, and all over the world, loving Father, including those people who have suffered from hurricane disasters, and from tornadoes and earthquakes and all manner of pestilence on the face of this earth, diseases as well. Please continue to abide with us. Please help us to have a reasonable program tonight, and that whatever we have to advocate tonight may it be to thy honor and glory, as well as to the well-being and benefit of our people of Belize. We pray these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for
Thank you.
for co-hosting with me tonight. And as I said to you earlier, which the public does not know, I almost experienced an accident this evening, and yeah, but for the grace of God, I may not have necessarily reached my destination and be able to host or deal with this program tonight. But God knows our hearts, our desires, and our secret thoughts. He also works in mysterious ways. So I just wanted to express my gratitude in that regard, besides just what I said on the prayer. I'll turn the word now to you, Mr. Wade, for you to grace us
Thank
with
you.
reading, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's
You're welcome,
always
sir.
Pleasure to sit in your company. And again, I want to welcome our viewers, both at home and abroad and around the world,
Amen.
who view us. I want to welcome them to our 209 edition of our Belizean Affairs show. Came a long way there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Very much so, sir.
And like I say, we always have to give thanks and praise for the Almighty, and because tomorrow is promised to no one. And again, thank you for that warm prayer.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes. I will continue, Mr. Chairman, on a reading from Ezekiel. Since I was on Ezekiel on the last show, so I'll continue from Ezekiel, where I left off from 20 to short to 23,
Yes, sir.
chapter 13, 20 to 23. It reads, Therefore, says the Lord God, Behold, I am against your magic bands with which you hunt the souls like birds, and I will tear them from your arms, and I will let the souls whom you hunt go free, and the souls like birds. Your veil also I will tear off and deliver my people out of your hands,
Amen.
and they shall be no more in your hands as prey. And you shall know that I am the Lord, because you have disheartened the righteous falsely, although I have not grieved him. And you have encouraged the wicked, that he should not turn off his turn from his evil ways to save his life. Therefore, you shall no more see false visions, nor practice divination. I will deliver my people out of your hands, and you shall know that I am the Lord. That's my reading
Amen.
from Ezekiel chapter 13, 20 to 23. Mr. Chairman, back to you, because I know you have your item that you want to,
Uh,
cover. So
can I
pass it
ask that?
back to you.
Can I ask that you take a minute and a half, maybe 90 seconds,
Oh, sure. Thank
and
you.
just use it
Thank you.
as you wish.
Thank you.
Go
Thank you,
ahead,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. Thank you. Thank you very much. As always, Mr. Chairman, I just like to, you know, always like to remind our people, and like you rightfully said, your experience while you was on the road tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
And I've always tried to give a sober reminder to the road users, Mr. Chairman. Always, if you could remember that, always says that they should be mindful on the highways, because they are not the only ones
Yes,
on the
sir.
highways. There are other people driving on the highways, using the highways, and I have experience, especially at night, um, people with these high beams, Mr. Chairman, right?
Yes, sir.
Right in your face. And sadly, that a lot of these vehicles, the high beam have been remanufactured. It's not the high beam that the car or the truck or vehicle comes with. They adapt some kind of other high beam to that vehicle, which is illegal, of course. Well, I know in the US it's
I,
illegal to do that.
I saw one of those tonight, Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Okay,
Habib.
see? You see what I'm saying? And I've been talking about this, Mr. Chairman, because it bothers me if I'm on the highways in, in this country at night. Man, I tell you, it's really a sad situation to watch some of these drivers with this high beam right in your face, right? So, like I say, they remanufactures these high beams, which is illegal. But where is the enforcement, right? The things that they should be looking for, these people, they are not looking for, the things that causes accidents. They are just trying to hustle, right? Trying to hustle, right? So, I mean, I've seen it. That's why I say that, right? Um, so they need to be mindful. The police, the transport officers, when they have these roadblocks, these are things that they should be checking for, right?
Right? Yes, sir.
So, my
Thank
people,
you.
be mindful on the highways, and don't drink and drive. Don't be texting and driving. And always remember that it's so sad to see the amount of fatalities in this country, especially lately now, the motorcycle accidents and fatal ones, fatal every week. You know, um, I don't know what's going on, but something needs to be done, right? Because too many lives are being lost, right? And a sober reminder to the people that COVID is alive and well. So they must be mindful, protect themselves, because the government is not going to protect you. Like I said before, there is no more money in COVID. They're not getting any more money. So all that education and all that statistic that they were given is not happening anymore. Um, and another sober reminder to the people that we are still in the hurricane season. And I always say, protect yourselves, your property, and your loved ones as the best way you can. And we must always get down on our knees and pray to the Almighty, because Belize have been some near misses,
Hmm.
near misses. So it's not our time yet. We need to keep praying, because we are still in the hurricane season. Um, and sadly, Mr. Chairman, I have been saying for years now that this country is not ready for a catastrophe. First of all, the system refuses to build hurricane shelters. Hurricane shelters. Now, what they do, Mr. Chairman, they use the schools, they use broken down community centers.
Without
They
roof.
they
Without
yes,
roof, sir.
yes, you see,
I've seen quite a few of them as I move around.
exactly, right. So I'm not lying, right? And sadly, Mr. Chairman, the amount of money, donation, grants from the time of memorial, right, from the time the existence of Belize, we've been getting grants, money, aid for hurricane season, and then don't mention the taxpayers' dollars, right? That's been swindled in the name of hurricane season, to do this, to do that, and but not one proper hurricane shelter has been built. So sad, right? And are we going to be out of the hurricane season in this country, Mr. Chairman? No. Every year, June to November. Every year, June to November. But yet, these people just refuse. They squander the money, they squander the donations, they squander the equipment that's given, and it's a repetitious cycle. So, you know, we need better need to be had in this country, and it's so sad. And the system just don't give a damn, you know, past and
Uh,
present.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr.
That's
Ray,
my
for.
little contribution there, and thank you for that couple of minutes you gave me there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Back
I
to
do
you.
appreciate it, sir. We need to be reminded of these situations as often as is possible because, as regards to the hurricane season, we have to remember that we live or we reside in Hurricane Alley. That is that
Exactly.
most hurricanes come towards us. Sometimes they jump the other fence and go in a different direction. But we live in the alley, so we should not be surprised that every once in a while we suffer disaster. But that doesn't mean that we're supposed to just cavalierly say, okay, well, it's going to happen, and so we fail to do our part. Just like asking God to come down and live our lives for us after He has already given us the life to live and the privilege to make our own decision. You know, the making of that decision carries a bit of responsibility on our part and accountability on our part. But I want to leave that accountability issue that we are now speaking of in terms of the hurricane season, and I want to transition into the formal program for the night. That is to say, the PCC of Belize, a group of individuals who were put together by the Prime Minister and was given an assignment, apparently did not knew their assignment and as a result did not complete that assignment. Even though they were given additional time, additional money to complete that assignment as per the Prime Minister's expectation. That is that his expectation was that he was going to take these group of individuals, put them together, give them their marching orders and their assignment, and that those individuals would have fulfilled their obligations and then come back and deliver to him what he is now expecting them to give him, even though they have not completed their assignment, which is their initial assignment was for them to go out and solicit from the general public of Belize population ideas as to whether or not the people wanted their constitution changed, which we all know it has been changing and have been changed many times over and over and over since Independence Day. It's not the same constitution that we have on Independence Day that we now currently have available to us. For those of us who are paying attention, we are quite aware of that reality. So it's not that the constitution has not been changed and could not be changed. The requirements is that whenever the changes are made, it has to be made within the bounds of the constitution. Any laws that are made outside of the bounds of the constitution are what the constitution itself calls other laws. And if those other laws, to the extent of the constitution of Belize, are violative of the constitution of Belize, then those other laws are to be ruled and considered as null and void, according to section 2, according to part 1, section 2, subsection 1 of our constitution of Belize. For those who care to have the enumerated section stated and validated for themselves, they can go ahead and do their research. They don't have to listen to what I say. Take the reference I just gave you, go and look up in your constitution or a copy of it if you have one, and if you don't, the amount of money you spend every day to survive and live in Belize would not cost you any more harm if you spend some of that money to buy yourself a constitution or make a constitution available to yourself and your other family members. Because it will serve you well, it will avoid you having to pay unnecessary lawyer's fee, because you'll get into less trouble, and you'll be able to know your rights. And when the when the leaders of our country know that we know our rights, they'll be more circumspect in how they behave. They will not arbitrarily and capriciously try to take away our rights or suppress our rights because they will know that we know what the Constitution says. So the original task for the PCC, when they were called the, the commission, the uh, let me specifically Constitution Reform Commission was the original name that was given to that group, and subsequently they were renamed as the PCC, People's Constitution Commission. This group was supposed to go out there initially and educate the Belizean people about what is in their constitution, or our constitution, as a matter of fact. Because it is known that up to the 98% of our population, Belizean folks, I'm talking both at home and abroad, by the way, are unaware as to what the constitution consists of. A few people may know a little bit here and there about what the Constitution consists of or what it says. Others have no knowledge or understanding or awareness, and apparently no inclination or desire to be bothered, to try and learn. Why? They feel like, well, if they have a problem, they'll find a way to get to a lawyer or have a lawyer assist them, which is the way it's supposed to be in the first place. But ignorance of your Constitution does not provide for you a better environment for you to survive and live in. So Mr. Breshenia had his agenda, and he had various assignments that he wanted to assign to various entities or groups or individuals in some instances. And in the instance where he declared that he had given an assignment to one lawyer, a famous international lawyer, who is actually the person heading our representation at the ICJ on behalf of Belize, he gave that man a request for that man to look at a documentation that he had, that the Prime Minister had, and to return to the Prime Minister some legal advice as regards to the validity or importance thereof or non-importance thereof of that particular document. And because the Prime Minister did not get the answer that he was hoping for, he turned around and spit in the man's face and said the man, as a lawyer, did not understand his assignment. How disingenuous can you be to take the most advanced and powerful lawyer operating on behalf of your whole country's existence in an international court of justice as your main advocate, and spit in this man's face and say, because the man never tell you what you want here to make you could use to bamboozle your people, the man did not then understood his assignment. Other than to say, well, maybe, well, of course, as of right now, the Prime Minister has not told us that he told the man what he wants the man to tell him in legal or legalese or in writing. So we are to presume that the Prime Minister told the man what he wanted the man to give him back as a result. And because the man gave him just the opposite of what he was expecting, he then declared the man as not having understood his assignment, because the man never gained the result where he made it look for. So now we have some other people that the Prime Minister indulged with as the PCC, and apparently they did not understand their assignment either, because as far as we understand, even in the document that was created to empower that commission, It states in in that document that they were supposed to go out and solicit ideas and input from the Belizean public as to whether or not they wanted a constitution change. But before they answered any question in that regards, the people were supposed to be educated about what the constitution comprised of. Because before then we had known that 98% of the people had no knowledge or understanding about it. So this commission was supposed to go out there and educate them about it and then ask them questions as regards to what they have learned, how do they feel about it, are they satisfied with what is there, do they have any interest in having any changes to what is there, to add anything or to take out anything. And presumably that commission is of, the time allotted to it has expired, and the extra time allotted to it has also expired, and the commission has not taught the masses of the Belizean people, not even, I would say, 1/10 of what that constitution consists of. So how the hell can they then be relied on by the Prime Minister to cease and desist their education campaign and compile whatever information they had gathered so far, give it to the Prime Minister in another few weeks, so that the Prime Minister can take it, can review it, take it to Cabinet, have Cabinet review it, take it to the House for a vote, vote on it, get the people to, well before getting the people to vote on it, they were going to take it to the Governor General to have it signed and assented to. And apparently then after that, they was going to take it to the people for the people to say yes or no. Well, a yes or no is not enough for the people to understand any more than they understood about the current constitution, much less a new constitution, the parts of which they have no knowledge about. And they should be able to go and say, yes, we want a new constitution, and yes, we agree with whatever new input is in the new constitution, for that to replace our existing constitution and become our new constitution. Let me tell you, Belizeans at home and abroad, the whole issue is a farce, deliberately set in motion to bastardize and possibly eviscerate or get rid of the existing constitution, because the Prime Minister himself confessed to say that the current constitution is in the way of them giving us adequate and better governance, which is also a farce. They choose to bastardize our constitution. They choose to pretend that our constitution has no leverage or control or influence over their method of management, and they just want to dispense with it. And what the Constitution Commission is going to present to the Prime Minister is not the final product that the Prime Minister is going to put to the Congress to vote on. He will have his say and way, the Cabinet will have their say and way, and maybe Congress will have their say and way before the matter becomes law, before it is assented to by the Governor General. But if you listen to me carefully, I'm going to tell you a secret, as loud as a secret can be told. Belizeans at home and abroad, the effort that has been put into this process of the PCC and the final outcome for whether or not we will change our constitution is intended to change the constitution that we currently have into a more pliable document that will serve the ultimate objective of turning Belize into the Republic of Belize. That is the objective. There is enough of you Belizeans out there that is quite well aware of that and or maybe suspected that, but there's a lot of people who have no awareness that that is really what the whole shenanigan is about. Let me say to you, Belizeans at home and abroad, the current constitution, there are parts of it that cannot be changed. A lot of people say, well, if the Constitution can be changed, the whole thing can be changed and should be changed, according to some people. Their level of ignorance should allow them the flexibility of recognizing the reality that ignorance of itself is a dangerous thing, especially when you have people who are going to use that ignorance and bamboozle you because of that ignorance. Now, most Belizeans have not dealt with their constitution, and therefore we can say they're ignorant about their constitution. I'm not using the word in a derogatory or in a malicious way to imply that people are actually ignoramus. Of course, there are some who are ignoramus, but that is not the application of the term or the interpretation of what is it I'm trying to say to you, Belizeans at home and abroad. There are many lawyers who know what I'm talking about, who understand what I'm talking about, who knows their constitution, and who understand what the constitution requires. But there are also other lawyers who apparently left their legal training and knowledge of the constitution in a classroom and forgot to put it in their backpack and bring it out with them and bring it home so that they can make use of it while they're doing their legal practice, which is what is expected of lawyers. To know the Constitution, make use of the Constitution, and allow the Constitution to be the basis on which they vindicate the people's rights when they come to them for legal advice and legal help, so that they can win cases on behalf of the people who are done wrong. But some of those lawyers either pretend that they don't know better, because they do act as if they don't know better, but maybe they act like they don't know better because they are beholden to certain interests in the country, either to politicians or to private clients who can afford to pay them big sums of money for their legal support and legal practice. All lawyers are expected not to lie to the court, because that is considered contempt. But as lawyers, they're not always sanctioned because they bamboozle the court or they pull the system and deceive the court in order for them to prevail with their case. A lawyer is a liar, but not all liars are lawyers. That's the difference. A lawyer is a liar, but not all liars are lawyers. There's a reason why I say that. Because most of our Belizean lawyers have an idea what the present government is attempting to do, but they will not get involved, first of all, because it costs time, effort, and money to go up against the government that controls the public funds and the public treasury of all Belizeans combined. So any one person will always have difficulty fighting the whole government. No care how wrong the government is wrong. No care how... I was going to use... I'm trying to measure myself. Please bear with me. Don't care how evil a government can be against some of its people. There are lawyers who will not get involved to try and checkmate the government or to force the government to abide by the Constitution and to do right by the people. If the people don't have enough money as individuals or as a group to hire a lawyer, as much as Belizeans are being told that they have rights here, there, and everywhere, and they are entitled to those rights, if they can't afford to pay the legal services to validate or vindicate or uphold that right, it's as good as if you didn't have the right. because our system has allowed the government to do a lot of evil and wrong things to people who did not have money to fight and defend themselves adequately. So they were taken advantage of by police officers, by civil servants, by politicians, and sometimes average citizens take advantage of each other. They kill each other, and then they disappear witnesses as well, killing others, in other words, and then they intimidate others to not testify, and then these mass murderers, I would say in some instances, because some of them kill over and over and over. I can recall there was a point in time when the very same individuals were committing crimes over and over, and they were getting off. And the court would, the DPP and the police system would say that they can't prosecute them. Why? Because some of the evidence disappeared out of the police file. I think I'm straying from my focus. I want to get back there, and I need to bring Mr. Wade in. So let me get back to the focus of my original stipulations, and that is that the government should not put its population in a situation where they have to be finding money for legal representation to go fight the government in order for their rights to be vindicated. That's a travesty. And when our government is going to turn around and violate our rights and turn around and tell us that they want to use us as sovereign citizens to assist them to try and commit sedition against the present head of state, so that we as sovereign citizens can take back our sovereignty from the present head of state, who is currently responsible for the head of state's affairs, which includes anything that has to do with governance. As we now know, and we have taught you on this particular platform many months in a row, that the head of state delegates to the Governor General some powers, or we'll call it executive powers, so that that Governor General can then delegate to his subordinates when they become elected as members of Congress. They go to him or her to get assented to the powers of governance, executive powers of governance, for them to become the government of the day or the cabinet, and then being in charge of the day-to-day executive powers of the country. Now, how can we as Belizeans sit on the side and allow our delegated executive governance people, to whom we entrust these powers, to bamboozle us in such a way that we are prepared to go along to commit sedition in order to vanquish our present head of state on behalf of people who have no true interest in our well-being? And you think I'm talking stupidness or craziness? Go back to 1981, since independence, until today's date, and tell me which of our government, whether PUP or UDP, had done right by our country and has done the best they could have done, so that we are here today with a broken country, with a 68% poverty rate, with our treasury being fleeced by our leaders to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, that our budget is being mismanaged, appropriated, and funds are disappeared, and we can't even get a simple thing like an audit in order for everybody to see and know and understand what money was requested in our regular budgetary process, what money was requested afterwards by supplementals, What money was given to us by foreign entities for special programs? What money we derive from the various government services? And how our economic situation can be bettered? Instead, we sit by and allow our government people to tell us that they have made arrangement, back deal arrangement with private entities so that those private entities can suck up all treasure, the money that we have to find or that they take away from us through the high gas price and other taxation form for them to go and give Mr. Ashcroft $400 million and turn around and settle other lawsuits and put ourselves in a position where we have additional lawsuits pile up that's coming at us. Whether this present government is in power or not, we're still going to have to deal with those lawsuits and the outcome of those lawsuits if they are ruling adverse ruling against us. Belizeans should not abide that kind of craziness for as long as we have been abiding it. For 1981 Independence Day, we have been an independent pauper and a defenseless one at that, because we have the so-called enemy to the west and the south of us that is aggressing our people and our defense forces, our police officers, and then our own leaders are blaming us for being abused. And everybody sits by and pretends like, well, it's all right. The bottom line is that our constitution is good enough as is and has been good enough to get us from Independence Day till now. But these people want to eviscerate our constitution because, as the Prime Minister says, it's in the way. It's blocking him from doing some of the dastardly crazy stuff that he would like to be able to do, such as treat us, all people in this country, like Mr. Bukele is treating his people in El Salvador. He went and did the same thing like what Bukele did just a few months ago with the people that was in the prison, line them up half naked while they were searching the prison compound. He liked what he saw Mr. Bukele did, so he turns around and do it to us. And he does not have any power or authority to behave in such a manner. But he acts like that anyhow, as if he does have those powers. And he keeps violating our present constitution. And then he wants to make a new constitution for us that he's encouraging us to say yes to, without us knowing the details. How can we be so dumb? I would say so stupid. Because the guy looks straight in our face and tells me we don't have no talent. But because he has so much talent and our people support him in such massive numbers at the pool, or at the poll, he can afford to turn around and spit in our face like he did with Mr. Jarabi. When he's stupid enough to elect me and hopefully re-elect me, with all the things that I've been doing from the time we got elected until now, and what I'll continue to do until we leave, according to him. So he must think that we're all stupid. Or we are not paying attention, or we all forget too quickly all the things that he has been doing from the time they first got elected in this cycle. And with the way the opposition is going, it seems to me like these gentlemen have no conscience. They will continue to do what they're doing because they have no opposition. And the people are sitting down, sucking their finger, quite apparently maybe not satisfied, but are indifferent. We are so peaceful a nation. We are so passive. I don't know. I'll yield to Mr. Wade because I think I have more to say, but I'm getting a little hot under the collar and I don't want to disrespect the show or you, the people in the audience listening to our show tonight, or any other time when you get a chance to listen to our show, as you always do. I yield back, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I listened to you
You're welcome, sir.
contentively, and you know, like I have always said on previous shows, how I feel, and I have no problem expressing how I feel. I am beholden to no one. So, for the record, so on previous show, I have said that past and present government, while we're on the Constitution, Mr. Chairman, and you laid out eloquently the inception of the committee and what their role was. Their role was to take to the people, and after they finished dealing with the people, what their role was to go back to Johnny Briceño with with their findings and their conclusion. Now, as far as I have seen and lived, I have seen past government, present government violates our constitution. So that's the reason why I say that past and present government are gross violators of our constitution, Mr. Chairman.
Very well
We
said,
see
sir.
it played out publicly every time. And there you go, Mr. Chairman. You said, who hold these people accountable? Who will say, well, Mr. Dean Barrow, for what you did to our constitution, this is your charge. And this is what we are going to do to you for doing that. No one. Who will say to Johnny Briceño and his hunters, Mr. Briceño, you and your People's United Party had violated the Belize constitution and itemized to them the violation that they had done. There are many, but who dared to do that? Now you said, Mr. Chairman, who dared to do that? The regular Belizean is going to fight the government? No.
Not like
The regular Belizean, Mr. Chairman, like you said, don't have the money to take. And sadly, the government is going to fight the regular taxpayers with their own money. Their own, I have been saying it before. They will not use a Johnny Briceño money. They will not use a Dean Barrow money. They will not use a UDP money. They will not use a PUP money. It's going to be the taxpayers' money. Now, I switch gear. When they wanted to make this baby, the baby is fiddle with our constitution. And like you said there, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing wrong with our constitution since 1981. And I've always said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with the Belize constitution. I don't have a problem for them to want to add to our constitution, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a problem with that. But we see the intention of these jackals, because you said it eloquently, their intention. And I will say it again for the record. They want to turn Belize into a republic. But they cannot, with the stroke of the pen, do that because of our constitution, blocking them from doing it. So what they do, they hurdle Chanona, their henchman, and they hurdle close PUP associates that's beholden to a PUP party, and they make them into a constitution committee, reform committee. Make them into a committee. Say, Johnny told him, you go out there and we will say, we're going out there to educate the people. And it was publicly said, educate the people on their rights, Mr. Chairman. That's what they first started. You don't believe me? Check, go back. Visit Plus TV when they first started. My cousin Louis Wade, they were with him when they first started. And they outlined exactly what was their mission on that program, right? Rise and shine. Chanona outlined. There was an attorney there. I don't even know these people, right? You could call a name there, Mr. Young. I think his name is Young.
I know all of them.
Okay, good. They were all there, visible for the nation to see and for the world to see, and they
Sir,
put out their intention. Okay,
Mr. Wade,
that
Mr. Wade,
yes,
they
sir.
are
Go
some of the
ahead.
people that I'm making reference to when I say that there are people who know what's right and what's wrong. They know the
Exactly,
truth, but they go and do according to their assignment because they want to be paid their fees for their work. And whoever is
exactly.
paying them, whether it's to do something wrong and they know it's wrong, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to collect that money and they're going to do that job. They know their assignment.
Rightfully says, Mr. Chairman. Rightfully says, because we all know who Chanona is, right? As a brother and a human being, I have no problem with Mr. Chanona. But the things he does, I have a problem with it. I personally, Rudy Wade, have a problem with it. Now, I say this because I know the individual and he knows me, right? So I don't bite my tongue and I because I could back up whatever I say. Now, they started out, Mr. Chairman, with educating the people, and they will go to visit. They were going to visit the entire country, every nick and corner of Belize, of this nation. That's what they told the public. Did that happen?
Lies, lies,
Exactly. Did that
lies.
happen? You watch the town hall meetings, the couple of them that they have, Mr. Chairman, 15 people, 20 people. Is that the entire country? Like the lies they're putting in? They
Mr. Wade,
even try to
Mr. Wade,
rope in the diaspora,
yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir. Mr. Wade,
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman, go
um,
ahead.
we on this particular platform have done more constitutional education than all they have done with their millions of dollars expended so far. And there are other platforms that have been involved with this process to help. And the
Right,
Belizean public has not been taught one quarter of the Constitution. And these
right.
jackals are wrapping up their whole effort and going to submit their recommendations. They did not fulfill their first obligation. But anyhow, sorry to
Rightfully
interrupt you, just
said,
continue.
Mr. Chairman, rightfully said, right? And for the record again, right? Rightfully said. Now, we see how that baby played out, right? And like you said, Mr. Chairman, these people had an agenda. But to put through their agenda, the Constitution is blocking them.
Right.
But they will go to the people. And when they come back, they will say, you know, we have consulted the people. And the people had spoken, which me and you, Mr. Chairman, know that that's a damn lie. Right?
Very much
Now,
so.
who dare to stop these jackals? They have the super majority in the House.
Mhm.
Where is Shine Barrow or Tracy Ponton and who are they? Who are they to stop them? They're supposedly to be the opposition. So they have
Yeah.
no opposition to stop them. Right? So before this baby went out on their mission there, Mr. Chairman and Belizeans at home and abroad, these hyenas already sat down in a meeting and they knew that exactly what they were going to do. They knew exactly the mission that they were going to send Chanona on. They knew exactly, right? So, like I said, you know, and you rightfully says, Mr. Chairman, you know, when that report goes back, Chanona take this report back to Brisenio. He gonna put that in his back pocket or tear that up because he already knows what he's going to do.
Mhm.
He already know. So he gonna bring out his draft, and because his cabinet is with him,
Mm-hmm.
none of them have the balls nor the guts to tell him, Prime Minister or Johnny Brissner, whatever you want to call him, you know it is wrong what you're doing. None of them have the balls or the guts to tell him, look him in the face and tell him that it is wrong. No, they will side with him, Mr. Chairman.
Sir,
Go ahead.
they were able to tell him
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
about they were able to tell him about the Portugal deal that he was doing wrong, and they stopped him because there was no money in it for them. But in
There
all
you
these
go.
other things, there's money in it for them. Okay, he will
There you
provide
go.
some through the budgets as ministers. He will provide some, you know, and he'll give them all kind of things to suborn
Exactly.
them and encourage them to follow his leadership.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman.
And the
So,
bottom line, so just one more point. The bottom line is that these other people in government, as ministers, for example, could stop the man from committing those crimes against us
of
if they
course,
really
they
want
can
to.
stop him, Mr.
Just like
Chairman.
how they
Of
could have
course.
stopped him with the Portico.
Of course.
But they will not try and stop him because all of what he is doing is to fulfill something that all of them are in agreement with, which is to turn Belizean into a republic and for Belize to have what they call a new identity. And the
Exactly.
new identity is not the Belizean identity that we have been living and grown up with and are trying to continue living, but
Thank
a
you.
new identity that will suppress anything that had to do with British influence, that had to do with Battle of St. George's Caye, that has to do with any of us getting up and fighting and trying to keep our country,
Thank you.
other than allowing our country and its assets or patrimony to be enjoyed by others. And our
Thank you.
local Belizeans apparently could
So,
care less. So
so
viva.
I'll finish up, Mr. Chairman, and I'll pass it
Go
back to
ahead,
you. Let
sir.
me
Yes,
finish
sir. Go
up.
ahead.
Okay. So we are back to that final draft from the from Chanona to
Because.
back to the Briseño guy,
Mhm.
and he already have a draft of what he's going to do and what he is going to take out from the constitution or what he's going to add. He already know, or flush our entire constitution down the toilet. He already knows that. So
He
he
doesn't have
gonna
he doesn't have
he,
the power to do that though, sir.
he's
But he's bamboozling
so
people into believing that he will do that and is capable of doing it. He
so
will make the
so
motions.
anyway,
They
this is
can't
what he's
survive.
going to do on
Uh-huh.
the end, right? The end result, and then who dare to stop him? He gonna And then, like I say, he's going to use the people. The people have spoken.
Mm-hmm.
His committee had canvassed the entire country, and this is the end result from the people, even the diaspora. That is what he's going to say. And then
Which would
he's
be a
going to
lie
lay
as
it
of
out.
today date.
He's going to lay it out to the Belizean people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who dare stop him? He have the superman. We don't have an opposition. We don't have zip. We don't have no. They with a stroke of the pen, they're gonna do what they want to do. See what he's doing to the group, Mr. Paul Morgan, my buddy, and the other guys that want
Mm-hmm.
to that is forcing the government to do with districting
Mm-hmm.
to have equal representation. You see what that man is doing to these private who is telling Johnny Briseño, you know what, you need to do your job, and the constitution mandate you to do this. This is
Mm-hmm.
what the taxpayers are paying you to do. But you refuse to do it. So we the public, we the private individual are forcing you to do it. You see what he is doing to these guys in telling him about doing his job. You see, it's public knowledge for the world to see what he's doing to them. He's fighting them to every step of the way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just because these guys are patriotic Belizeans and know that the redistricting is way due 15 years ago, and these guys are telling him, Mr. Briseño, this is what you need to do. The Constitution says that you should do it. And he's fighting these guys all the way with the taxpayers' dollars. What
Mm-hmm.
hypocrite does that? And look at you and smile and say he love Belize and love you, right? This is a I don't know, you know. Like I say, Mr. Chairman, he will get his way. He has no one to stop him, no one to block him, right? But you know, it says karma is is real.
Mm-hmm.
So we leave it in the hands of the Almighty. We pray on it that he does not get his wishes. Pray on it, right?
I pray.
Because prayer do work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prayer do answers, right? Answer. So you know what kind of person do these kind of atrocities to a nation and a people? What kind of a evil person does that, right?
Traitors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll say no more
You're welcome,
because
sir.
back to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for expounding so eloquently on the subject matter that we have touched so far tonight. And in the interest of time, uh, I want to go to another point that I raised earlier. And I think we have enough
You at
time left.
58 there, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So we have enough time left, I believe, and I'll just, if I can't complete the whole part of the matter, I'll just leave and postpone to another time. But I want to go into the issue of the United Democratic Party being one of the mass parties in our country, who has been the government of our country on quite a few occasions, and is sitting, waiting its turn to become the government again. I don't know how long they're going to have to wait before they become the government again. But I'm concerned about what's going on right now in that organization because I happen to have been part of its creation. I was at its foundation. And it bothers me that the people who claim to be leaders in our party or in that particular party, United Democratic Party, which, by the way, is an amalgamated entity. There are three organizations that came together, three and a half, by the way, organizations that came together and decided to work under that title as an amalgamation. That organization has never been put up for sale. It was never for sale. Nobody has bought it yet, and nobody can provide me a receipt to tell me that they are the owner of it because they bought it, they paid for it. I do know that there are many individuals within the party and outside of it who have provided funds to help facilitate the party's financial issues. The bottom line is that the maximum authority of that party are the delegates to its biannual party conference, a national party conference. And whenever that national party conference delegates sit, so long as there's a quorum, they have unto themselves the power and authority to do just about anything on behalf of that party, irrespective of whether the leader likes it or not, or the chairman likes it or not, or the vice chairman likes it or not, or the deputy leader likes it or not, or whoever is subordinate to that committee is subordinate to that committee and has no power to tell that committee or demand of that committee that it cease and desist any of its activity and or to reverse any of its activity and or to tell that committee whether or not that committee has the right to sit. Or that, for example, in the case where the so-called learned chairman, Mr. Perefit, as someone who's supposed to know better, is going to turn around and say because he did not authorize or validated or sanction or sign off on a biannual conference, that a biannual conference could not be held. As far as I know, for him to say that in public, by the way, on the airwaves, is a travesty, because the man has enough knowledge to know that what he was espousing there is not what he was supposed to be saying. He knows the laws of the constitution of the party. He knows the intent of the party. He knows the intent and the rights of those delegates. And no subordinate committee to those delegates has the power, much less any one person in any of those committees, has the power to stand in the doorway and block any party conference from exercising its sovereign right as the owner of the party in trust on behalf of the Belizean people. It is not the different committees of the party who are entrusted with certain responsibilities, by the way, yes, correctly stated. It is not those committees that tells the biennial conference whether or not the biennial conference has any right to do what the biennial conference choose to do. So, Mr. Parafit, you being a learned person and someone who know what the facts are, should not be going out there as a learned person or a knowledgeable person or an informed person and just bamboozle people by omitting information that the public should have in order for them to understand the facts. You should not be going out there as an informed person, ill informing the public and the media, or to go out there and pretend that because you were previously the chairman of the party, that you had some superpower of accorded to you unto yourself, that you can decide whether or not a biennial conference can sit. Or that you can tell the biennial conference that what they decided is not valid because you say it is not valid. And for you to come up with all the different scenarios that you have tried to come up with before, such as, for example, stating that the biennial conference could not be held on an even year number or an even number year, such as, for example, this year, 2024. Because I may inform you, if you didn't know and you don't know, that the first biennial conference of the United Democratic Party was held on the 4th of April of 1976. Please go and check your archives, which I'm quite certain you don't have. And if you wish to check my archive, as Mr. Panton did before, I can facilitate you to verify and validate for yourself what you probably do not know, and that the record stipulates. The first biannual conference of the United Democratic Party was held on the 4th of April 1976. May I tell you that that was an even number year, sir? And that subsequent to that first biennial conference, the reason why they use bi and annual to say biannual means every 2 years, sir. I presume you understand or know that much. Because you also stipulated that every 2 year, the party is supposed to have a conference. But how dare you to say that because the party held a conference on this particular date, 20th of October of 2024, which is an even number year, which consists consists of a 2 year span in between each and every biennial conference that should have happened from the time the first one happened until this one that just happened. They all should have been on an even number year. In other words, 76 being the first one, the second one should have been 78, the third one should have been 80, the fourth one 82, and so on and so on and so forth until we get to today's date. Then the one that was held on the 28th would have been held duly on an even number year. So your shenanigan that you go and tell the general public that it ought not to have happened is a bastardization of the party's constitution and a deliberate attempt of misleading. The statements you put out there and your presentation consisted of errors, omissions, oversights, and in some instances, outright bamboozling, or, for another way of saying it, outright lies. I'm not saying that you're a total liar, because not everything that you said was a lie, but enough of what you said was a lie to the point of trying to make believe that what you were saying had full credibility, when in fact you was bamboozling the public and the reporters who were entertaining your discourse with them. All because you are supposed to know and they are not supposed to know. So you misinform them and have them putting out on the airwave misinformation to the rest of the general public. And presumably, people are supposed to believe what you're saying as being true. I'm not going to say that you don't know. I'm going to say that you're deliberately a hack, as some people would say, a party hack. You're a hired gun. You were put in place by the Barrow family to protect the interests of Mr. Shine Barrow as leader of the party. And had the man spent his time acquiring his skills and learning the necessary skills that he had to use in order to keep three separate entities as an amalgamated party and work between those amalgamated groups to keep the party as a one single solid representation, you would have done well. But had you waited a little while longer, you would have done better too. Because by then you would have probably learned some of the things that you just don't happen to know. You don't born knowing what you have to learn or need to learn. You didn't took the time necessary to learn some of the things that needed to be learned. But because of the little funds that you brought to the party and people were relying your money and thinking that you'll make life easier for some of them, you now have the impression, Mr. Barrow, Jr., Mr. Shine, apparently you have the impression that you have put your money into the party, you paid for it, you own it, and you want to be controlling it, despite the fact that the people in the party are telling you they don't need you or want you as their leader anymore. How else is the majority of those delegates supposed to get that across to you? When you are being told that so long as you persist and insist that you are the leader and that you lock down the headquarters, which doesn't belong to you, by the way, for which you could be prosecuted. I'm not sure if any of your advisors have told you that. That building is not yours, nor for you to do as you wish. That building is for the general public. It's a party property. It doesn't have your name on there, or the name of any of the other people that are trying to encourage you to try and hamstrung the party. Let me explain to the general public something that happened behind the scene. Because unless people know some of the details, they are very likely to believe the lies and the shenanigans that is being put out there to discredit the majority of the duly elected delegates. What was put out there is that, for example, the delegates were not the right delegates. The delegates were not called to order by the right person. The chairman did not cooperate. And why? Because the Constitution says that 1/4 of the delegates to the previous conference have the authority or the power, so long as they're within the 2 year span that they are certified to be a delegate. 1/4 of them have the right to call for a change of the leader or to depose the leader and any other constitutionally elected or previously elected officer of the party. That power rests with that organization. It doesn't rest with you as the leader to say, well, I going to demit office or I going to leave, therefore only so can a new leader come into play. Or for the chairman to say, if he stopped that committee from being certified by him as the chairman, as being called to order, that means that if he blocks the doorway and refuses to accept the petition that was handed to him and do what he was ordered to do according to the Constitution, that then he is in violation of his constitutional obligation, he's in dereliction of his duty, and therefore he's suborning the will of the delegates, who are the highest power in the party. You are suppressing their will in order to keep Mr. Shine in power. The longer you refuse to do your job, the longer Mr. Shine, according to you and Mr. Shine, has the right and the privilege to continue exercising the powers that those people invest in them and in you. That is not correct. When people like yourself and Mr. Shine and others refuse to accept the owner's decision, then those owners have a right to fire your butt, as they duly did. But for you to go around and pretend that you didn't order it, or you didn't, or that those people didn't follow the proper constitution, how the hell they were going to follow the proper constitution when you block them off from making their will carry through? You're in dereliction of your job. Mr. Barr is in dereliction of his job. His job is not to go there and fire area representatives and or division standard bearers in order for him to appoint the ones that he wants so that he can end up having the majority of those delegates on his part. That's a contravention of the Constitution. And that's what you was found to be doing, which is why that meeting was called. To make sure that you were stopped from continuing that kind of bastardization of the process while claiming legitimacy. You lost your legitimacy, and you lost it at the hands of the people who had the power to decide whether or not you kept that legitimacy or they'll take it away from you. And they took it away from you. For you to come now with a second-hand proposal to try and make an agreement with that group, after you stepped on them, you fired so many of them out of the party, or at least you attempted to, and you fired others out of the House of Representatives from their House of Representative committee. You were not doing the party any favors as you said you was doing. You was putting the party in a much more tenuous situation than needed to be. I met you the other day at Mr. Kurt Kelvin's funeral. I shook your hand And the first thing you heard me say to you, Mr. Barrow, Mr. Shine Barrow, I said to you, you will need to exercise a bit of magnanimity if you expect to have this matter resolved. I didn't even have the chance to tell you I was working behind the scene to try and help you resolve it. Mr. Faber refused to take the joint picture with us because he said the idea that he had is that somebody was going to post it and make him look discredited among his colleagues that he was joining up or siding with you. Within a few days of my asking you to exercise some level of magnanimity and trying to get your attention to do the right thing to coalesce back the party, you turn around and you fired some of the people out of their positions. You started acting like a petulant kid, just being vindictive and malicious and personal. The party is not your personal toy. That is not what I helped create it for. No, what I will allow while standing on the side to have happened to it. So I can inform you that most of the other members who originally founded that party may have passed on, but there's still enough of us left behind who will not allow you to hijack our party and do what you're doing anymore. As of the 20th of this month, October, the resolution was tabled and passed. And you're no more the leader of the party. You can claim to be the leader of the party. You was the leader of the party. And Mr. Perifit can tell you you're still the leader. Your father can tell you you're still the leader. Your uncle can tell you you're still the leader. Your auntie could tell you. Mr. Pat from Corozal North can tell you you're still the leader. Why? He's beholden to you. He's beholden to your father. So instead of him being a patriot and stepping to the plate and helping the process to move further along faster, he's deciding to be a materialistic person and go in favor of your remaining as leader of the opposition in the House, which cannot be obstructed without a majority vote, which you are in possession of by virtue of having Mr. Pot in your favor and in your pocket, and having your auntie in your pocket, and yourself. 3 out of 5 is a majority. But the decent thing would have been for you to demit that office, as we have dealt with in the past in the United Democratic Party under your uncle, when your uncle was the first elected leader of the opposition on behalf of UDP. He also wanted to be the leader of the party. And he was not allowed to become the leader of the party till 31 months after the party was created. And the then leader of the party was Reverend Gerald Fairweather, who was the first leader of the United Democratic Party, regardless of what the present leadership says. That Mr. Lindo was the first leader of the United Democratic Party. He was leader of the opposition, and he didn't become leader of the opposition until months, a year and 1 month after the party was created. The party was created in August of 1973, when the document was signed by Mr. Dean Lindo himself and Mr. Fuller and Mr. Harry Lawrence, who was then the pro tem leader of the Liberal. And Mr. Fuller was acting as pro tem leader of the NIP in the absence of when Mr. Wilson had gone to study law. So if you don't know your history and you don't have those archives available to you to indicate that history, I can make it available to you. There's not too many other people right now that have the level of archives that I have in my possession, which is why I'm in possession of also a book of 600 pages with all different kind of material in there. But the bottom line is, not only can I tell you when you're wrong or demand that you correct your unethical and improper conduct, but that you're not supposed to go out there and pretend to be the leader of a group of people that don't want you as their leader, because you're only a leader as much as you have the followers to lead. And if the followers tell you that they don't want you as a leader and they want somebody else as a leader, the honorable and right thing to do is to admit office rather than having to be thrown out, you know. But anyhow, I'll leave that part because there's more to that that I'll need to take on a more on a further or future occasion, because each of our show only goes for 1.5 hours normally. We started a little late tonight, and as of right now, we have a little under 5 minutes to go. We're probably gonna go to 35, or maybe not. No, it's a bit late, and there are other things that needs to be taken care of. So we'll probably end our show very close to our regular time, and I need to turn over to Mr. Wade for his comment on what I was responding on just now. And I do not expect you'll have much to comment, Mr. Wade, as you have already indicated to us that
Yes.
UDP or PUP is not your bag, your bag,
Back up
or your
to
tea, or your cup of tea, and therefore um, I would not expect that you would be able to give me any positive support in what I'm articulating here. But for the record, it's your turn to expound and say whatever or however you wish to express yourself in regards to
Okay,
these
thank
matters.
you.
I yield back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I listened to you, passionately. You you indicated yourself very passionate in the work that you had put in, and I don't fault you in your reaction as to how you see the opposition party is behaving. And you
Thank you
stated
very, thank you very much, sir.
you have all that right to because of the long standing and the you have created uh, the constitution of the UDP, not the
I helped
Belize
create it.
constitution, right? So I hope that Mr. Perfit and Shine Barrow listen to you, and the followers of the UDP listen to you and learn some history, because you just brought out history there that a lot of the so-called UDPs do not know, Mr. Chairman, right? So
Those
that
are the
I
facts, sir.
applaud you for that. And I have said on previous show, in fact, I'll go a little back that the show I had called the hot seat. I have said, and it came to light a few weeks ago that after the saga of John Saliva, and I watched everything, I said that the UDP will self-destruct. That is exactly what I've said on one of those shows. Right after the saga with John Saliva, and I watched the played out with the Faber and the Saliva leadership struggle. Right? You see how far back I've been saying this thing, and it came to light now that the UDP has self-destruct. Right? Publicly, nationally, and internationally. The opposition party in this country is no more. Hence the reason why Johnny Briseño says what he says and does what he does. And he said it publicly. The Belize does not have in his mind, right? And you cannot go after thinking of that guy, right? Because before he took office, he lies all the way as of today. Nothing but lies and venom that comes out of that man's mouth. But I give him credit to say that there's no opposition and he can call election whenever he wants it. He has that toy string, and he could pull it at any time he wants and so desire to suit his convenience. So,
Mhm.
as for me, I have said before, and I continue, and I'll say it again for the last time, and you'll not hear it from me again. Where I would like to see the UDP goes and the PUP goes, put in a barge, take in the middle of the deep, deep, deep blue sea, and dump with cement full of that barge full of cement, never to resurface again in this country, right? Because they are the ones that has us where we are today. No one else. So that's why I say that. And as for me, Rudy Wade, I have lived it, seen it, and I have the voice to voice how I feel, and no one can deny me of that. No one on earth could deny me of that. So I do not subscribe to what these jackals and hyenas has done to this country and continue to do. They need to go, right? In my view, like I say, I'm not a UDP supporter. I'm not a PUP supporter. I was a PUP supporter, but I ceased and desist as of 2007. Publicly, I went. No longer a supporter of the People's United Party and have never supported United Democratic Party. So, on that note, I say that I call on the Belizean people now, if they are tired of seeing, we see what's playing out with the UDP, public knowledge, and you see what the PUP is doing to you. If you like it, come again and support them in the next election. We don't have an opposition, but I'll tell you this again for the umpteenth time now, several times now, I'm telling you, there will be a new entity, and it is the Belizean Justice Movement that is going to be on that ballot, for change in the next general election. So, if you want a change, that's your change. If you don't want a change, you will have your UDP again and your PUP again, and then you live with it until no more, right? But a change will be there, Mr. Chairman, my people, both at home and abroad, on the next election coming.
Thank you very much,
And
Mr.
it's
Yeah,
always
sorry.
a pleasure, Mr. Chairman, to sit in your company. And the program was very, very educational, right? Like I say, you have a God-given right. You have a God-given right because of the energy and the job you had put in, the work you had put in. So you have a God-given right to say, man, I don't like what you do. Shouldn't be like this. But the man is a hard-headed kid, and you could not put a kid to do a man's job, Mr. Chairman. That's the bottom line. That's what I got to say about Shine Barrow. You cannot put a kid to do a man's job. A kid is going to do kid stuff all the way down the line to the bank. Kid stuff. And so, there you have it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for eloquently put it together, and I hope that the UDP that listen to you and that support the UDP party listen and learn something from you tonight, something that they did not know.
Thank you
So
very much,
thank
Mr.
you,
Wade.
and it's always a pleasure to sit in your company.
The pleasure is
And my
mine too,
people,
sir.
yes, and my people, both at home and abroad, thanks those who listen to us, watch us around the world, diaspora, at home and abroad. Thank you very much who support us. May God bless you, and please stay safe.
Thank you again, Mr. Wade. We have
And say good
some
night.
comments that we did not address.
Or you
We
have
will
some
try to
comment? Go
take.
ahead, and you
No,
want to
no,
do
no.
that quickly?
No, no, I can't. The time is
Time, yeah, time is
gone,
of an
and
essence. Okay.
I'm under pressure with other issues and time as well. No, so
Okay.
but I do wanted to acknowledge and say that to these individuals who wrote in their comments, I'll find the time necessary to respond to them, and I'm looking forward to continued conversation in regards to Belizean affairs, both with Belizeans at home and abroad.
Thank you.
And I do wish that this PCC process falls on its face because
Likewise.
it has done nothing other than to provide these nefarious people with a platform to be able to push their agenda,
Yes.
to take away Belizeanized culture and patrimony and turn it into something else, such as Central American Republic of Belize. And from my vantage point, we don't need to change our constitution. And
Share the same sentiments.
if they take our constitution and try to change it without meeting the required rules and regulations that bound the constitution together, they'll be biting off more than they can chew. That's as much as I can say right now. Thank you very much again, Mr. Wade. Thank you, Belizeans at home and abroad, for taking your valuable time and listening to our program. Tonight, we try to give you the best of what we had available. We, I personally had hoped that I would have been able to deliver a little bit better, but for not having the time and having lost some of our time, like I said, because we almost had a major accident, but thank God it didn't turn out to be any more than it
Thank
did. That
God.
is that we had a
Thank God.
blowout tire, and we could have turned over. We could have hit oncoming traffic. We could have had just about a number of other more worse end results. And for that, I'm eternally grateful that the good Lord still have me sitting here having this discussion at this moment, even though I did not have the time available to prepare adequately for the show, as I promised I would have for this week. But somewhere along the line, on some other future show, I hope to be able to make it up and give you some additional information that I wanted to put out. Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
and God bless. Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. God bless Belize, always.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Wade. Thank you very much, sir. Uh, okay.